Hey, thanks for joining me. Today I want to talk about this Bow River from Spyderco, a really unique and interesting design by a gentleman named Phil Wilson. And as I understand it, Phil is an avid hunter and fisherman, and the design of this knife derives from those experiences. But as I studied the shape and the design of this knife, I noticed that it is very similar to a design from the 17th and 18th century that was very popular back then. So let's put it on the bench and take a look at it. Before we do, if you would, please click the like and subscribe buttons, and let's get started. So this is the Bow River by Spyderco. It is a really attractive little fixed blade knife. This is one of their kind of budget line fixed blade knives. I think they come in just a little under $50 in price. Actually, I haven't really priced it recently. A friend of mine gave this to me as a Christmas gift last Christmas, and I've been using it since then. Just really have enjoyed using it. Now, this is a design by Phil Wilson. You can actually see his name on the blade. Like I said, a very attractive knife, but this knife has its roots in a 17th or 18th century design. There was a design at that time called a Roach Belly. And the Roach Belly was a very popular knife. Now, Phil Wilson is an avid, as I understand it, avid hunter and fisherman. And this knife is designed in that vein. It is useful, for processing game, for cleaning fish, very handy in the kitchen. That's really largely where I've used it. I haven't had any game or fish to process since Christmas. But you can see, now this is a cold steel version of a Roach Belly. This is Cold Steel's Roach Belly, and you can definitely see the connective tissue between the two. Cold Steel even gives the name Roach Belly on their knife, and a little musket with a powder flask, kind of a nod to the black powder community. I'm not going to really talk about this one today, other than I wanted you to see the similarity between the two knives. And the Roach Belly that this is derived from is very similar in terms of what you look at in terms of like samples of historic knives. So in the 17th and 18th century, the Roach Belly was a very popular knife, and they were used again primarily for processing game, cleaning fish, and were also very often used in the kitchen. Probably a guy's wife would want to have one of her own, or would probably steal away the one that a hunter might own, or the dad might own. It was just a very popular knife, and they were commonly used. Now, the Roach Belly is not named after the bug. No, it's actually named after a fish called a roach fish, and the roach fish had a very swept or curved belly, and hence the name of the knife. So there's no relation to the cockroach. This is all about that very common and popular fish at that time. So the knife, like I said, is a very really useful knife design. I've been using it, like I said, since Christmas, primarily in the kitchen, and have used it for food preparation, for just kind of like you would for a lot of different. And I'm just putting fingerprints all over this. A lot of different food prep uses, and give this thing a wipe down. Can't stand all the fingerprints. Anyway, the knife blade is a full flat grind. It's got a pretty decently weighted, spine, but full flat grind. So it's a nice thin blade. It does really good for cutting up, vegetables and food prep. The handle is very comfortable to use. The G10 gives you good grip. You can really get some good control over this. Like, I tend to use it with a pinch grip quite a bit in the kitchen, but it's just a very comfortable knife to use. The blade, like I said, is made of 8 CR13 MOV, and you get the performance that you would expect from that steel. This is a Chinese-made knife. That's, probably the reason for the use of that steel. But the performance you get from the steel is, like I say, what you'd expect. I've had other Spyderco knives with the same steel, and you know, the performance I got was quite similar. So, you know, and it's not bad performance for an inexpensive knife. You do have to sharpen it a little more frequently than you would, say, you know, a more premium steel, but that's not really a problem. And in use, like in food prep, cutting up meat, cutting up vegetables, it stays sharp a good long time. So it's a, you know, for the price, it's a very fun knife to have, very friendly knife to use, and I kind of enjoy the historic perspective. Now, I'm not suggesting that Phil Wilson took an old design and called it his own. Certainly not that. I think really more what happens with a design like this is that a design, you know, I've always followed the idea that form follows function. And so when somebody designs something, they'll design it for a task and for a purpose. And, you know, processing game and cleaning fish was probably had a lot to do with the original design. And I think since Phil Wilson's an avid hunter and fisherman, the same thing happened. You know, he took ideas he liked for a knife to use for those purposes, and he you know, designed a knife. And it's just, you know, sometimes great minds think alike, and so you have a knife that has some historical perspective, but it's probably quite by accident. So anyway, this is the Bow River by Spyderco. If you're looking for a good fixed blade knife that won't break the bank, this is a nice one. It does have a lanyard hold. It is full, you know, full tang. The layered G10 scales, nicely put together. Like I say, it's not a bushcraft knife, but if you need a knife for hunting use or just general camp duties, it's a great knife to have. I appreciate you watching my video. I've really been enjoying using this Bow River. Like I said, it was a gift from a good friend of mine, and I just have not been able to get out and do much hunting or fishing since I got it, for a variety of reasons, but I have found a lot of utility around the house here with it. Like I said, primarily been using it for a lot of food prep in the kitchen, and that includes, you know, cutting up meat and vegetables and different things, and it has worked really well. Now, obviously it's not the size of a chef knife, but as a replacement, say, for a petty knife or a, you know, a little bit bigger than a paring knife, obviously, but for a lot of those same duties, it's been very useful. So I've really enjoyed having it. Anyway, thanks for joining me today. I always appreciate it when you watch my videos. If you have any thoughts or questions, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment. And as always, thanks for watching.